Welcome back, guys. Chris here, and I'm bringing you the May 2025 edition of NetSuite News. So to start off, it doesn't qualify necessarily as news. It is something that is more timely just in relation to a bunch of requests and questions that I've been getting a lot in the last month or two, which is on the subject of how to choose your implementation partner and which implementation partner to go with. The reason I've been asked about it so much recently is because we're really just a few days away now from May 31st, which is the end of Oracle NetSuite's fiscal year. And the reason that's important is because that's the best opportunity to take advantage of massive discounts when you're purchasing the software. If you want to get like a 40% discount or something like that, then doing it in April, May, those are the best times to try to get those discounts. So with so many people purchasing the software in this time period, then people start looking around for, well, who do I want to partner with to actually do my implementation? So I wanted to give a little bit of an overview. I have talked about this subject in other videos. I even have a free implementation guide that also goes into this subject. You can check that out. It's a very short guide. It's about 35 minutes. But I want to just talk about it a little bit here because it is timely. I know a lot of people are kind of in this moment and trying to now navigate forward. They bought the software and now how do they move forward with the implementation? So let's just paint a picture for that. For some of you guys, you're going to be very familiar with this, but I found a lot of people know a little bit about it, but they don't realize the full scope of their options and some of the subtle differences between those options. So let's paint that picture now, and I'll actually go to a separate graphic screen here just so I can give you a visual composition of what your different options are. And we'll start off at the top with the obvious choice, which is Oracle NetSuite themselves. When you get an implementation done by Oracle NetSuite, it's going to be called NetSuite Professional Services. That's the team that does their implementations. And the way that works is the implementations that PS is going to do are going to be considered sweet success or the low customization, heavily expedited implementations. That's their big pitch. They're going to do it in about 3 months, or that's roughly the timeline, and it's going to be very quick, very easy to get you onto NetSuite. The problem with that is that every business is different. One of the biggest benefits of going on to NetSuite is you can customize it to your operating system and what makes your business work well. You want to take advantage of that. So saying that you want to just get NetSuite, which is pretty expensive, and just get it out of the box, no customizations, and a very, very expedited timeline is often the worst way to implement NetSuite. And yet that's often what professional services will do, and that's what they're used to doing. They're not good at doing heavily customized implementations. So I generally do not recommend people go with NetSuite PS, but I'm not going to say they've never done a good implementation. It's just oftentimes a bad indicator if you're going down that route. You should ask yourself, why am I getting NetSuite? If that's why I'm getting NetSuite, why am I going with NetSuite Professional Services to do my implementation? The second option is alliance partners. So alliance partners are really closely partnered with NetSuite to the degree that they're not going to sell you the software. Oracle NetSuite's going to sell you the product. They have these sales teams for that. Once they sell you, once they realize that you have more advanced requirements and you definitely need an integration or a web store, customizations, etc., they're going to pass you off to one of their alliance partners. The alliance partner will then do the implementation. So it might seem from the alliance partner standpoint like it's a good gig. They don't have to sell anything. They just sit there and have clients fed to them. It's definitely a double-edged sword. It's not always peaches and cream for them, but that's what they do. They focus, they really double down on the implementation without worrying about the sales aspect. And when it comes to alliance partners, there are some great alliance partners. I'm not going to say they're all amazing. It really just depends on the company, but they certainly have ones that have done a fantastic job. They tend to be larger companies and very stable. So that's something to think with. I've seen many companies have excellent implementations with various alliance partners. The third category of implementer is the solution providers. It's one that I've talked about a lot in my videos. And if you've seen those videos, you'll see I have many reasons that I feel like with a solution provider, you have the highest likelihood of a successful entire implementation, meaning the sales process, the implementation, as well as the support moving on after go live. And really what makes a solution provider different, I've kind of alluded to it just now, but it's the fact that it can also sell you the product. So they're very similar to alliance partners, but the difference is the alliance partner is just going to take what they get from Oracle NetSuite to implement, whereas a solution provider can sell you the software. They will liaise liaise with Oracle NetSuite to, sign the contract agreement and all that, but then they will then do the implementation that they sold you, and then they'll follow up with support very commonly. So solution providers, again, there's some great solution providers, there's some not so great solution providers. So you just need to make sure you go with the best fit, but that is something to think with. I'm not going to say always go with a solution provider, but I personally feel like just the probability amongst a data set of 1,000 companies, the likelihood you're going to have a very successful implementation tends to increase when you go with the solution providers. The fourth option you have available is what I generally call independent consultants. So this is either one consultant or maybe a small team of consultants that are going to do your implementation. The benefits of that are obviously they tend to be cheaper. It's a much more intimate relationship, but the downsides are it's riskier. Because it's a small team or just one guy, the odds that that person's skill set is going to perfectly align with all of your requirements tends to be less. And also, if the implementation starts going poorly, you don't have recourse to a different team or, trying to change things up with the people you're dealing with. You're then going to have to completely ditch that consulting group and go with an entirely different consulting company. So that is higher risk, but you have that more intimate relationship and tends to be a much cheaper implementation. The fifth option, which I never recommend, but it's kind of like the solo do-it-yourself route. Usually what I see, and I do see this often done, although I never recommend it, companies will try to hire someone who's previously worked as an admin for a company that has, you could say, successfully implemented NetSuite. So you could say that guy, he was an admin, he was running their implementation process, and he managed to have it go for that company. We'll bring him on our team, and he's going to run the development and the implementation on our side. It can go well. I'm not going to just guarantee that that's going to go poorly, but it tends to have a very high risk. And the benefit of it by reducing that implementation cost, I just don't think is worth it. There's just too much risk. And with risk can go, if things go poorly, it can mean the ending implementation cost might end up being much higher than if you had just gone with a normal, let's say, alliance partner in the first place. But some companies just insist that they want to do it that way, so just be aware that is an option. Those are the 5 predominant options. So now that you have a concept of what are the basic options you can go with, now let's talk a little bit about, well, how do you choose which one? Like if you know you want to go, let's say, with an alliance partner, how do you know which alliance partner to go with? There's a few different things you can do, but I just want to give one tip for this particular video, which is that you want to find a company that has the most expertise with your type of implementation. Now, one way that you can try to at least have some verification that the company you end up going with has some expertise in your industry, whether it's health and beauty or tech, etc., is there's actually an award that NetSuite provides to a lot of their alliance partners, solution providers, et cetera, their partners across the year. They don't do it all at once. And these awards are called the Spotlight Awards. And the way this works is if a partner does an implementation for a type of company, a client company, that goes very successfully, they will give a Spotlight Award for whatever that industry was. So for example, let's say the client company was a sustainable energies company. And let's say Myers-Holem, for example. Let's say they do a great implementation with that. They'll give Myers-Holem a Spotlight Award for sustainable energy. So the reason that's interesting, and you can look these things up, you can pretty easily find this information. You want to start looking for a partner implementation company that has gotten a Spotlight Award in the same industry that you are in, especially if you're in a very niche industry, let's say automotive. You don't just want some random implementation company to do your implementation because it's like with anything. You don't want to get a brain surgeon if you're handling lung cancer. That's a person who's specialized in brain surgery. You want to find someone who's a specialist in cancer treatments. Even amongst consultants, you really can get specialized skill sets, and you want to go with a company that has a long experience track with that type of industry. So if you found that NetSuite has given a spotlight on that thing, let's say automotive, then you know they've at least done one excellent implementation in that industry. You can then go to that company, ask for other, you could say, referrals or examples of automotive implementations that they've done in the past, check with those companies, etc. The whole point that I'm making here is you want to find companies that really have expertise in your exact industry, because there are the best practices that tend to make things more successful, more streamlined, efficient, and just all the tricks and trades of that particular industry, they can leverage that skill set for your implementation. So I know that's a bit of a long-winded approach for that one tip, but hopefully that gave you a little bit more insight on how the partner network really is formed and some advice on going forward on choosing your own implementation partner. If you have any questions on this, of course, as always, you can send me an email. I'm happy to provide guidance as I can. And then lastly, or I should say last two things I want to talk about is, first off, I've talked about this in a few other videos more recently, but there is a company called Reed Consulting. They provide free seminars. They used to do it once a week. They're now doing it twice a week. I've attended a couple of these seminars. They're excellent. They're very easy to watch. The one that happened just last week was on automation through workflows. So they have these great free seminars you can easily attend. The only downside is they don't record them and they hold them on Australian time. So if you want to watch them, I've had to watch them at like 10 o'clock at night just to be able to gain access. Hopefully I keep recommending them to the point where I put pressure on them and they change it to have something that's a little bit more in between time, or at least record them so people can gain access. Maybe they won't, but that's fine. The point is you can gain access to them, especially if you're living in the Asia Pacific area or you're in, let's say, Europe. It's a little bit more reasonable to try to attend some of these seminars. Feel free to take advantage. I'll put a link for those down below. It's just a great free resource. You might as well check it out. And then lastly, I want to give a little bit of news about SuperTraining. I am coming out with a new website. This is highly interesting to me, probably not interesting to anyone else, but just be aware that's going to be coming out, fingers crossed, in June. And it's going to have not only the courses on it, but I also plan on bringing other things like a blogging section, potentially even a job board in the future, although that's not going to roll out with the first iteration of the website. And I also plan on having various additional services such as how to choose your third-party app software, how to choose your support partner, things like that. Free resources that people can take advantage of to better take advantage of, well, first off, going on to NetSuite in the first place, and then utilizing their system. So again, look forward to that in June. You'll certainly notice it when you come across it. It's going to look completely different than the existing website. And with all that in mind, I hope you found this video helpful. If so, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And with all that in mind, I hope to see you in the next video.